Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Star Wars Squadrons.
Shake them! Giving engines full power!
Think you can escape?
This is gonna get close!
Pilots. You are the Empire's strength. We do not accept defeat.
Remember why we fly. For hope. For the new Republic.
Vengeance will be ours. When the perfect shot makes history.
5 pilots.
1 squadron.
The galaxy's finest.
All right. That was Star Wars Squadrons. Yeah. EA made this, obviously. They got the rights to all the upcoming Star Wars games, I think, back in, like, 2014 or 15 or something. So, I mean, like, it's just their next Star Wars game. I've never really been a fan of the piloting modes in any of the recent Star Wars games like Battlefield and stuff. They kind of give me a headache trying to, there's like a million people all in ships flying around. Battlefront, thank you, Battlefront. I don't think this is for me. I think people maybe that like that style of gaming. I mean, I remember playing Star Wars Rogue Squadron on like a friend's N64, and I was like, this is kind of cool, but it was like really hard, I remember.
It is not kind of cool. It is incredibly cool.
There it is. I knew it was coming.
But yeah, these games don't
pick.
feel like that anymore. So the other thing I was going to say was a friend loaned me a Star Wars Rogue Squadron book, and I got to give it back to him because it's cool that like Wedge Antilles is the main dude and stuff and diving into that. But there's so much like pilot jargon and that I can't get into it. And it's weird. It's because like, you read a book that maybe has like battle elements of war and stuff, and maybe it's a little more grounded, but this one, it's all made up stuff. So it's just hard and kind of dense when I'm reading that stuff, and it puts me out of the book itself. So, but Wedge Antilles is cool, and I just realized now from watching the trailer that he's in this, and it's cool that even though EA says that these games here are part of the canon for the new Star Wars films, right? I believe that they can still throw it back.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, he was in the most recent movie too, for like 3 seconds.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
That's how everything.
No one has.
Well, it's just that's how out of Star Wars I am now from the new iterations. I mean, I'm like planning on still watching it, but it's like I'm not in a hurry or excited to watch them anymore.
It's actually interesting because when the Force Awakens comes out, they approached the actor who plays Wedge Antilles, Dennis Lawson, about being in the movie, and he'd be like, "No, that would be boring for me." But he still shows up for like 2 seconds after The Last Jedi caused like all this controversy. They might have been like, "We got to go back and see if Dennis Lawson will come. We need some goodwill with the hardcore fan." And they probably just showed up with a truckload of money. They're like, "You're not even a famous actor. We shouldn't have to do this. Just show up for a day."
They drove a dump truck full of money up to my house. I'm not made of stone.
Well, that's pretty much all I have to say about the game, though. It's not for me. I'm not a fan of this, of this part of the Star Wars games is in the flying of the ships. So I'll popcorn to you, Matt, since I think you have a little bit more insight on this stuff than me. So go ahead.
Yeah. Everyone welcome a special guest to the #Hype Train podcast, my cat, Rudy.
Rudy.
Who has decided to jump up. I had to move the computer so he wouldn't kick me out of the recording, and he's now being pet by me. So just so you know,
put him on
that's
screen.
happening.
Add the applause.
So obviously, this isn't a gameplay trailer either, but something I like about this trailer is it does kind of give you clues at what the gameplay is going to be like. It's not going to be Star Wars Rogue Squadron, where, a straight action game. At the beginning of the trailer, when the X-Wing pilot is being pursued by the TIE Interceptor pilot, she's like, "All power to shields," and you see like to engines, and you see that even though like one of her engines is on fire for some reason, she can still like pump all of her power to the engines. This is definitely a sim game. There's going to be like, you're going to have this crazy HUD, and you're going to be able to do all these weird, crazy things. Way more in the line of like the old PC X-Wing versus TIE Fighter games than something like Rogue Squadron. And I haven't played those games, so I don't know if that really excites me or not. As Mike said, it's part of EA's like Star Wars lineup. This was made by EA Motive. This is their first game by themselves. It was interesting looking them up for this episode because they were founded 5 years ago, and EA's stated goal creating this studio was to work on new intellectual property. But they have only worked on Star Wars so far. The only other project they've worked on was they helped DICE with Star Wars Battlefront 2. Presumably, I assume if I looked onto something other than Wikipedia, I could get into more detail. But presumably, they worked on the dogfighting segments, which I didn't like either. But Rudy is now eating the wire of my headphones. Good boy. So that has nothing to do with the trailer, but that's the big thing for me. I didn't like those segments. I didn't like Star Wars Battlefront 2 overall, to be honest with you. But I don't enjoy those segments. So hopefully this game is more than just that. If it's just more bells and whistles put on that element of Star Wars Battlefront 2, this is going to be a terrible game. But, that's not necessarily what we're getting. So we'll see. That's
real quick,
pretty much what... Yeah,
there is... So when I was researching, too, there are gameplay trailers now out for this. So I'll put up some footage of that. It looks like it is going to be different from the Battlefront games, but I don't know. Not for me. Anyway, go ahead.
I saw somebody's preview, but that person didn't really explain how the gameplay actually feels, so I just didn't know. That's really more what I had to say. The only other thing, I guess, is it's kind of weird. EA and Disney seem to be playing with... They obviously like to play with established Star Wars canon. People are really big into like massively multiplayer games these days because that's just possible, with internet connections now, more so than it used to be. They made it clear in this trailer that squads are 5 people in this game. Whereas that's not even true in Star Wars. Like in Star Wars, a squadron is like 12 people. But obviously, so from a gameplay perspective, they didn't want to go the massive route. They wanted to go smaller. So they're like, oh yeah, Star Wars, now squadrons are 5 people.
That is a weird number to go by.
Yeah, wouldn't have worked against the Death Star. It's like, oh, Red Squadron, Gold Squadron. Here's 10 people trying to destroy this space station. But whatever. So yeah, that's just something the Star Wars nerd in me wanted to point out. 5 is a weird number now that you say that, because obviously there are games like Apex Legends, you know, up to 3 people, super small squads, like, so you have like a core group. Or there are things like Battlefront where your team is like 20 people. 5 is too many. You're not going to necessarily like get a regular group of 5 people to play a game all the time. But it's also not on the other end of the scale. They must have a reason that they felt 5 was the best number. It's a weird number. Popcorn to Corey.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't hate the flying sections in Battlefront, but it's just hard to disconnect what we just got with Battlefront 2 from what this is probably going to be, you know? And at the end of the trailer, in the top right corner, when it's like, there's like a thing to like click here to go to the website and whatever, the box in the top right corner, at least when I watched it on YouTube the other night, was single player campaign story mode footage. And I was like, okay, so it is going to have a single player, but that whole everything about that whole trailer made me think this is an online experience for you and 4 of your friends versus 5 random jagoffs. Like, no part of that made me think we would even be getting a single player campaign at all.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just me, but like, I don't know who wanted this game, like, because all 3 of us, you know, are fairly similar in what we like in pop culture and games and stuff for the most part. But like, if all 3 of us were like, you know, from Fernandez, who didn't really get to play Rogue Squadrons when he was younger, to me, who did but was terrible at it, to Sanford, who loves it and you know, holds it high, for all 3 of us to look at this and be like, no, this is not for me, this is not what I want, it just seems like, why did they make this game if that's not the audience? Like, if none of us appeal to the audience that it's going for, why even do it?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's like, you know how when like Sony had to put out a Fantastic Four movie just to keep the rights. Like, I don't know if EA's contract for all the Star Wars games is that they have to put one out.
And I don't think that's the case, because I don't know how long ago it was. It was sometime last year. People were again annoyed at EA holding Star Wars things, and Disney said, well, we'll revisit that in the future. And then they came out a day later. They're like, oh, by saying we'll revisit that in the future, don't get us wrong, we're happy with EA and we're keeping with EA's exclusivity for Star Wars. So I don't think EA is in danger of losing Star Wars exclusivity. I think maybe they just sort of, it might have been that they felt they needed to do it financially. They just needed to Star Wars is still a big seller. So, you know, maybe they needed those credits, maybe. Like, credits will do fine. You know, I think maybe it's just internally, for the sake of maybe their stockholders, they're like, we need a Star Wars game to release every 2 years to get all that nerd money, baby. That could be it.
I mean, us on the hype train, we've shared our opinions about these big games, and you know, I don't think any of us are big fans of EA as a company. It's another reason why you know, these new Star Wars games, even when the other ones come out, I mean, they got to kind of do a lot to get me interested. The reason I played the Battlefront games was because they were so fun when I was a kid. And so, you know, of course I want to play that way again. And with the new technology and the new systems, like, I wasn't going to pass up playing the games. but EA themselves they have a poor reputation. So they kind of got to work a little harder than this game to get me to want to play it.
And that's what makes me feel bad about not really being hyped for this game, is because here's a game that EA is releasing for less than $60. It's going to retail at launch for $40 without an aggressive microtransaction thing. I think I don't know if there are microtransactions, but it's not like they tried to do with Battlefront 2. So obviously this is a less unscrupulous move from EA. So I feel like I should want to reward it, but I don't necessarily.
Yeah. I did want to just bring up the EA factor of this because we hadn't really talked about it.
Yeah.
All right, let's boom or bust this thing then. I'll go first. It's a bust. I had nothing really good to say about this other than maybe Wedge Antilles. So, Court?
Yeah, it's a bust for me too, Doug. It's not what we need right now. And I feel like Fallen Jedi or Fallen Order Jedi, what is it? What was the last one that just came out?
Jedi.
It wasn't that long ago, right? To be needing to drop a new Star Wars game.
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah. So bust for me, Sam?
Yeah, I'm gonna bust this as well. I want to want this game, but I just don't. If it comes out, consider me willing to be pleasantly surprised. You know, if this comes out and everyone's like, "Oh no, like this is a step in the right direction," I might give this a shot, and I want this to be a good game. I just don't think it's going to be. You know.
All right. Well, that should be it for Star Wars Squadrons.
Please step aside and let the customers off the train.